Today's episode was going to be about Ark Survival Evolved and the kerfuffle that arose over the sale of an expansion pack for a game that's still in early access. I've got a script half written for it. It may happen as an extra this week, no promises, but something else happened. And I'm not happy with Sony because they upended my weekend. I was already trying to play Recore for a review, which you can read on the Jimquisition.com, but I had this extra work, because now I've got to talk about fucking Fallout 4, which is 1,000,000 years old, literally, and we're talking about that instead of Ark. So those of you who are still desperate to hear about Ark, you're going to have to wait. Hold on to your genitals, folks, because we got something just a little more recent to get out of the way first. Here we go. I've not been afforded much opportunity to bash PlayStation this generation because, by all accounts, Sony's had it going on pretty good with the PS4. It has its problems, but it's not the Xbox One, which, let's be realistic, as a machine is a bit fucking toss, and it's done pretty well at delivering a decent library of games while remaining the most supported, convenient to use and of course profitable console on the current market. But Sony, like any corporate entity, just can't resist fucking up, it seems, and has finally decided to tuck the bottom of its shirt under its chin, lie back on the bed, push its ass off the mattress with its feet on the wall, and masturbate until it jizzes failure into its own face. The issue? The PS4 version of Fallout 4 is the only version without mod support, and Sony has proven committed to keeping it that way. The same will go for the PS4 release of Skyrim Special Edition later this fall. Bethesda promised mod support for Fallout 4 very soon after it was announced, confirming it for the Xbox One version at E3, following its reveal trailer, and stating it would come to the PS4 in June of this year. Well, June's come and gone, and there are no mods. Meanwhile, Xbox One users can enjoy unofficial patches, useful menu and interface tweaks, settlement improvements, and all manner of cool aesthetic enhancements like this fucking NCR Ranger armor. They've enjoyed this functionality for effing months. Bethesda, as recently as a few weeks back, promised console owners that mod support was still under evaluation for the PlayStation platform, but a few days ago had to break the news that, due to reasons beyond their control, it simply wasn't gonna happen. After months of discussion with Sony, Bethesda explained, "We regret to say that while we have long been ready to offer mod support on PlayStation 4, Sony has informed us they will not approve user mods the way they should work, where users can do anything they want for either Fallout 4 or Skyrim Special Edition." Not much to go on, but the general picture seems pretty clear. Sony was too restrictive, controlling, and basically too much of a console manufacturer to allow itself to be competitive, preferring instead to cripple its own system's potential and screw its own customers out of fully functional versions of games than allow users a bit of goddamn freedom, because heaven bloody forbid Sony doesn't get to 100% dictate and dominate your every shitting action. And make no mistake, mod support was an expected feature before launch, a known feature, so its exclusion does indeed render the PS4 version non-fully functional in my book. You can talk about whether or not Bethesda was right to bring it up, but either way, the version that the PS4 has is not the intended experience. That's the end result. It's not the way it should be. PS4 players are stuck with a version that's not only markedly inferior to even the Xbox One alternative, but officially fucking incomplete. Pulling back to a wider angle, this is a perfect example of a huge problem with consoles right now. They've been edging closer and closer toward gaming PCs for a while, but have managed to inherit so much of the bad stuff associated with the platform while scrapping almost all of the benefits. Thanks to the influence of PC gaming, consoles offer mandatory installations, even for games on physical media, huge update files, and publishers that no longer feel the need to give a fuck about hard drive space. All this on machines that run pretty damn slow in comparison to computers. But do you get, as recompense, most of the games guaranteed to run at 1080p or above with a frame rate of 60? Can you get freedom of choice to do with your game files as you wish? Can you get patches to games immediately without a delaying approval process from platform holders? Can you get direct, continued, instant and long-lasting support for your games even when official support dries up? No, 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 and no. And that's just a slice of what PC users get in return for any hassles and inconveniences that might get in their way. All all that in mind, I'll take Namco Bandai fucking up another PC port for one of its games, because at least someone like Durante can fix it within a goddamn day. It's interesting to note that the more Microsoft and Sony have tried to bridge the gap between consoles and PC, the more that gap has widened, or at least become more glaringly obvious. Fact of the matter is, consoles will never be able to catch up, and they traded in their one superior selling point, end-user convenience and fuss-free instantaneous gameplay, to try and do what we all know they can't do. In a world of Spotify and Netflix where entertainment is spontaneously accessible and easier to get to than ever, consoles have only erected more barriers, more waiting, and more disruption as they race barefoot against Usain Bolt. Even the Xbox One's support of mods showcases the massive gulf between consoles and computers. For a start, the sum total of mods you can have at any one time on the Xbox is limited to 2 gigs, and modders have a harder, more restricted time creating stuff for consoles as opposed to PC, where they get access to Fallout 4 script extender and not have to worry about whether or not a machine is capable of running their overhauls. There's also been a not insignificant number of reports claiming Xbox One mods regularly crash the game. The latter note has become cause for suggestion that the refusal of mods is not a 100% blame-free situation on Bethesda's part. According to one rumour, the specific reason why Sony wouldn't approve the feature was because it wanted QA tests run on every mod and Bethesda was unwilling to do so. I've been unable to verify that myself, any sources I have won't confirm, but if it's true, I'm still going to put more blame on Sony for this one. Mods causing problems is part of the package, even on PC, and I dare say asking any single company to check every single mod would be a huge and expensive undertaking, especially when mods are free and could easily be uninstalled. I'd rather have the freedom to risk it myself than have no choice whatsoever, and from what I gather, that's what Bethesda wants to do. Not a vetted system, but an open one. You know, like the computers these consoles love to try and emulate so bloody much. Whatever the specifics, Sony has effectively handed the win to Microsoft and gets to soak in the boiled piss. The rival company wasted no time boasting of mod support for Fallout 4, posting some entertainingly smug tweets that, for all my displeasure with Microsoft this generation, really were expertly seized opportunities. They get to revel in it while Sony remains quiet and just lets the bad PR build up around it. Which is, for me, the biggest fucking deal. Sony should be obligated to explain itself on this one, to say why it won't approve mods the way Bethesda wants them to run, presumably identical to the way they do on Xbox One for good or ill. In fact, Sony owes its customers an explanation here because, as I said, these are features of the game that, by the platform holder's decree, will not be making it onto the PlayStation 4, and those who invested in that system ought to be told why they're getting a second-string deal by the company's own hand. And not some mealy-mouthed, weaselly bit of marketing bollocks either, a frank reason. If it's because Sony wanted quality assurance on every single mod, at least that would indicate some fraction of nobility in the decision, even if I still think it's a boneheaded move that hurts customers more than helps and allows Microsoft to look good without even trying. By remaining quiet, Sony only demonstrates an inability to spin this positively and just looks contemptuous towards a customer base that deserves an answer. Due to my back injury, I've been replaying Fallout 4 on console since it's better than being in the office and was doing so on PS4. Following this news, I'm quite happy to scrap the hours I put in and start again on Xbox One. In fact, thanks to mods, I can just put in the cheat thing temporarily and get myself back up to the level I was at when I quit. I'd rather play with mods and any associated risks than none at all, and the guarantee that it won't crash, which, let's face it, is never a guarantee with or without mods because it's a fucking Bethesda game and on a console no less. Just all this shit from a company that only recently stated it was aiming to compete with the PC and not the Xbox One. I mean, that's just fucking hilarious. Over on the unofficial Jim Sterling subreddit, unofficial because, you know, just in case anything fucked up ever happens there, I don't want to be associated with it, someone pointed out that we should be mad at Bethesda for making the promise in the first place. And yeah, you know, I touched on that very briefly in the video itself, but I've got to say I disagree. Not well, I mean, if you're mad about the promise, then yeah, be mad at Bethesda. But for me, the promise is only the smallest part of this whole issue. I don't care about whether or not it was promised, whether or not Bethesda should have brought it up in the first place or not, or whether they should have waited for official 100% this is definitely happening confirmation. For me, I'm just too focused on the idiocy of Sony. If mods had just quietly come to the Xbox One and were never mentioned for PS4, and then we later found out that Sony had refused them for these currently vague reasons, I'd still do this video, I'd still be incredulous. I'd still find it unbelievable how utterly thick-headed Sony is. And it was also pointed out to me by someone else that it may be to do with policy. That, you know, this is old policy. In fact, I was told that some of Sony's approval processes go back as far as the Sony Walkman, which, if that's the case, really speaks to the fact that the policies need updating. This is something we've heard about before. Rami Ismail, sorry, if I've mispronounced the name, I've never said it out loud, I've only ever written it, once talked about the approval process for No Man's Sky and how people were annoyed about that second delay, but that there are really old-fashioned policies in place for approving games for the PS4. You know, the same approval processes they used on consoles long since gone, that didn't deal with online connectivity, digital downloads, mods, patches, all this stuff that's happened in the, you know, a year is a very short time in technology. Years and years, decades even, it might as well be an eternity. And you can't govern a system with old laws like that. So that shit needs updating, it needs codifying. I mean, that's true of so many things we've talked about on this show before. Legislation, the way games are sold and distributed. So much of this is new technology, exciting innovations, which the industry is so obsessed with. Innovation, innovation, innovation. It's such a fucking buzzword for them. And yet, they don't really innovate where it truly matters. Policy. That shit needs to catch up with the modern times. Okay? It's 2016, for God's sake. Current year argument. Thank God for me.
Over here, I'm a boglin. Me and my buddies need a place to hide out.
Hello my spiteful children, Jim Sterling, your #1 Boglin boy, is here yet again with another edition of Boglin Watch 2016. Today we're looking at Dwark. You can see him, Dwark, that's what it says, that's his name, okay? He is, of the three main big large boglins, my least favourite. I'm not sure exactly why. I just, aesthetically, he doesn't really do it for me. I'm not as attracted to him as I am to the others. We will see the third of the three main boglins at a later date, but I did want to get this one out of the way first. Now, interestingly enough, he was really the face of the brand for the original run. This was the first boglin ever designed by Tim Clark, who worked on a lot of Jim Henson stuff. That's why you can see just how detailed and rubbery these guys are. It's because we had a fucking Muppet guy working on them. Now, he was the first one designed, and when Mattel took the brand from Clark, well, I say took as if they stole it, you know, he gave them the license to work on the stuff, he was impressed with how close they got Dwark here to his original design. Sorry, he's fallen a little bit, let's get him right up close to the camera. We'll get him out in a second, don't you worry about it. There he is with his friends. Dwark likes to joke around. He is the jokester and prankster of the boglins. Now, as I said, he was the face of the brand on advertising and things. He was the one that was front and centre. Whenever you see boglins mentioned online, he's normally the one you first think of. And when you used to see boglins for sale at car boot sales in Kent, this was the most common one you'd find. In fact, I remember being in Bexley Heath once with this one. I think my brother technically owned this one, and I owned pretty much all the rest. Of special note to boglin connoisseurs is the boglin species tag. These are often not included with the boxes these days because they, you know, they're held on by a little bit of plastic, a little plastic tag. And these have like bio details. You can have a look at them there. This one, what does it say? He eats old shoes, tree branches and pepper, loves to hear jokes and riddles, always laughs at your humour, sneezes when it feels neglected. Personality can't resist tickling you, laughs a lot, likes to make others laugh. So he's a fun guy. He has a laugh, he likes to party. Just gonna open up the cage here and let him get out. Let's get in there. Being a large boglin like Vlob, who we saw last time, he's got the full range of moves, got himself the eyes, got himself the little blinker tabs in the eyelids that don't really work, opens his mouth, do all sorts of expressions, meh, good quality boglin, fairly clean, got him off eBay this one, and the seller took pretty good care of him. The chin has a little bit of wear on the rubber. This stuff's to be expected. Sometimes they peel a little bit. There's some light peeling, but it's not too bad. The paint job inside his gummy works pretty good. The teeth look good. And overall he's clean. That's my biggest thing with boglins, is the cleanliness aspect. These were children's toys, children's puppets primarily, made of rubber, fairly sticky, attracts a lot of dirt. We will have a look at the Halloween boglin that I've got at some point, Karaoke Wednesday, the one who's on the table. The lectern, and you'll see just how bad the dirt pickup can get sometimes. But this one, pretty clean a job, if I say so myself. So, good quality boglin, not my favourite one aesthetically, but it's alright. I'm into it, and because he's a boglin, he's still going to get a pretty high score, which is boglin out of boglin. It's the end of my boglin show.